Hey guys, welcome back once again to another episode of Bobcat Corner. I'm your host, Stephen Vitt, and before we begin here, I want to introduce to you a new graphic layout that I'm experimenting with. You're going to see it right here on the screen, and hopefully you guys are going to approve of this, that you like this, and if you guys do, please share your thoughts on the overlay on the format that I'm going to try to go with here. So I'm experimenting with this layout for this episode only, and if you guys give it a thumbs up if you approve of it, then I'll keep the layout, the overlay. Otherwise, I'll change it or I won't use another overlay going forward, whatever may happen. So let's just get that over with. But let's move on. Let's not waste any time whatsoever here. We got a packed show here, two topics that I'm going to talk about. Let's get started with the first topic, the House settlement. The NCAA House settlement. Yeah, that has been quite a big topic for many months now, couple years even, and we finally had another hearing about that between a whole bunch of lawyers and the judge presiding over this. Uh, Her name, Claudia Wilken, based in Oakland, California. This was the setting. And there's so much to unpack here, guys. I could not do it justice if I were just to dedicate one single 20-30 minute episode about this. There's just way too much to dissect here. But I'm just going to give you like a couple bullet points about what happened in the hearing um, concerning the House settlement ruling. As Ross Dellenger put it in his most recent article on the 8th of April, NCAA's House settlement ruling not over the finish line yet. Here are the judges' remaining sticking points. And with this, guys, I'm going to share with you. I'm going to share with you a few links, at least two or three links to what was reported in those hearings, so that you guys can follow along. You guys can read through these articles and make your own educated decisions on what's really going on here concerning this settlement. So I want to put that on the forefront here. But anyway, let's get through a little bit of the bullet points concerning the house settlement. Basically, what it breaks down to is that Judge Claudia Wilken, she won't grant final approval of three antitrust cases against the NCAA and Power Five conferences unless changes to the agreement are made. And there are a few certain changes, according to Judge Wilken, that really do need to be made before she can finally sign off on this. She granted initial approval over this settlement, but not final approval. So it's not over the finish line. So this hearing on Monday, which was the other day here, it went on for quite a few hours. It had a late start, but it had quite a few hours to it. And one of the things that both parties, both the plaintiff and defendants, both parties argued a lot about roster limits. It was a lot of back and forth about that roster limits because being proposed here and being implemented would be the 105 player roster for football teams, and even that has sparked quite the debate about how much should there be when it comes to roster limits for football teams. So that became like a big point of the debate there in the courtroom. There was a lot of courtroom theater over that alone. Sometimes when you have like big scale lawsuits like this and settlements, it tends to grow into some sort of like courtroom theater in some way, and it's just like sometimes it gets comical, other times it gets pretty sad, and other times probably both. But yeah, as you'll read here through Ross Dellenger's article and this other one where it kept like constant updates, Steve Berkowitz of USA Today. I'm also linking that one. Um, it just goes on to say, yes, Wilken all but says she will not grant final approval without changes. She expressed concerns with the rules around athlete NIL, name, image, and likeness deals with third parties. And that's another thing that I listed here was the fact that Judge Wilken says that she needs a pro-competitive justification for the proposed system under the settlement that would set up a more stringent evaluation by the NCAA and conferences of the athletes' NIL deals that are worth more than $600. That is, how would this promote competition for athletes' NIL services, and how would it not hurt athletes? Now, just by reading that alone, guys, when you have something like, $600, that kind of money figure, it's kind of, in a way, like a read between the lines kind of thing. In a way, it's kind of like the NCAA telling athletes that you still don't have the kind of value that you think you do. That's like the NCAA's message to these athletes. And Judge Wilken responded, each thing in the agreement needs to be reasonable. And yeah, I'm sensing, just from my outside observations, I'm sensing quite a few problems with this agreement already that are probably going to rise to the surface within a few years from now, even after this gets approved. Yeah, bizarre courtroom scene with the deadline. They had this like deadline of 5 p.m. where the courthouse's doors would be locked and the building closed to visitors and even court officials, even if they didn't get done at 5 p.m. That was kind of weird. But yeah, it was something like arbitrarily set closing time in a federal building. So it was along those lines. Roster limits destroy the dreams of athletes. That's what some of the objections were. It's like, oh, you can't have these kinds of roster limits. And some of the arguments that were being thrown out there in front of the judge involved like other sports like swimming, track and field, and certain other Olympic sports. Some of which, guys, I'm being honest with you, they're going to be cut by many schools in these coming years because the main central focus will be on sports like football and basketball. I mean, I hate to break it to people here, but it's just going to be about football and basketball going forward. And other sports, like I said, swimming, track and field, all these other Olympic sports, don't be surprised if quite a bit of schools just cut them to save money so that they can support other sports like football and basketball. It's a give and take sort of thing. So I'm just reading, this article and trying to process this. And also, future college athletes, that was also raised. Yeah, Judge Wilken keeps pounding concerns about future college athletes' rights. That is something that I found really interesting, and I was just like, raised my eyebrows, like, okay, why is this an issue? And we're talking about future athletes that may become, college athletes in the future. Like, we're talking about like young kids that are just trying to, they have aspirations of wanting to become professional sports athletes. Of course, they want to get to college, high school, college, but how this affects them, you know, should they be bound to this kind of agreement? Judge Wilken asked NCAA lawyer Rakesh Kalaru about due process issues for future college athletes. He rejects her idea of having the possibility of different rules for different class years of athletes. And he goes on to say, Kalaru, we need a 10-year agreement, he says. There's got to be some rules. There's got to be the same rules for everyone. We need the 10 years. In parentheses, without that, there won't be stability. There won't be a deal. Then Judge Wilken responds, go over it again with your people. There are rules. It may be technical, but there are rules in the law concerning due process. There are just a lot of issues to unpack here, guys, about this, and it will take many more episodes for me to really get through this. So, just as an outside observation, I'm getting this sense, guys, that there's a lot of issues, that there's just a lot of problems that are going to arise that I don't think even Judge Claudia Wilken herself is considering. And that goes to my last main point here about the House settlement as it stands right now. Regardless of what you or I may think, guys, Judge Wilken, she's going to sign off on it. She's going to approve of it. Do I think she should approve of this House settlement? No. I'm saying this right now. No. I don't think it should be approved. But do I think it will be approved? Yeah. Yeah. I do think that Judge Wilken is going to give final approval to this House settlement, and it's going to go through anyway. And all of us are just going to have to deal with it, supposedly. So it is what it is. Judge Wilken pressing lawyers about claims of future college athletes. There again, it's another interesting issue that just popped up in the courtroom here that a lot of us probably weren't thinking about. So, and also one thing that I really have to mention here about the hearings that really caught my attention. I think this was like the favorite part of what I was watching because I watched this stream that was hosted by Rock and Rant, Miami, Florida Hurricanes fan. Many of you guys know him. College Football Express, that channel. He hosted this stream. He actually shared the stream of the courtroom hearing. So I was watching this, at least a little bit of this the other day. And this really caught my attention, guys. I'm blown away by this, about the whole thing about the college football playoff in the settlement. What's the role of the college football playoff in the settlement? It's one of those things in the back of my mind that I kept wondering about. It was like, what is going on here with CFP, their specific role in this? And as Ross Dellenger and others would point out, and Steve Berkowitz would point out here, is that remember the CFP operates separately from the NCAA. The NCAA has some oversight of, but no role in the operation of the bowl subdivision football's postseason. The NCAA does not collect any of the revenue from the college football playoff or from bowl games. So Mike McGlamry, I remember his name, Mike McGlamry. He was the lawyer representing Florida State quarterback Thomas Castellanos. As the objector, raised questions about the role of the entity operating as the college football playoff's role in the settlement. The argument is that it's not clear in the proposed settlement whether the CFP, college football playoff, is being released from liability. I think that's going to become a very important topic in the future, if you ask me, guys. Judge Wilkins says she will ask the principal's lawyers about this. Well, let's see if anything comes out of this. That in particular really caught my attention about the college football playoff's role in all this. That there's like, from what I've heard in that stream, there's like 5 different accounts that were labeled, that were named college football playoff in all caps. Studying certain legal issues like that, like names in all caps, which maybe in the future I'll get into, that is a slippery slope. I'm going to say it right now, guys. That's a slippery slope, and there's like some certain loopholes that you can get around when it comes to your real name and your name in all caps. I'm just going to put it that way. And all these fake entities or supposed entities, college football playoff, I'm finding that very interesting. I'm just going to leave it at that. But yeah, just something to keep an eye on concerning that. But anyway, yeah, I do think ultimately Judge Wilkins, she's going to sign off on this, give it a final approval, and it's just going to go through. And another point of concern is Deloitte. I'm going to bring it up, Deloitte, that apparently is going to be running this clearinghouse for approval of NIL deals, because that's part of it. Deloitte. I've heard a lot of talk about Deloitte being a central figure in all this processing for athletes' contracts. And that's another thing I just don't like. I'm being honest with you guys. Again, I just don't like it. There's something about Deloitte when you do extensive research on, there's something shady about Deloitte. It's like, okay, Deloitte's monitoring this, but who's monitoring them? Here's the question. Who is monitoring Deloitte? Who is really watching Deloitte and what they're doing and how they're processing this? Like I said, there are many issues to this that I think and I'm concerned that are not going to get addressed anytime soon, even with the settlement. So yeah, let's just switch. Let's quickly switch over to another topic here. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about the House settlement in the future here for future episodes. So I promise you guys, I'm going to talk more about the House settlement once we get more clear details about it, even after final approval. But we got to switch to another topic here, and that would be just Sacramento State, the Sacramento State Hornets. And for starters, I just want to put it out there. I'm not a member of the Sacramento State fan club by any means. Again, I'm just an outside observer. From what I've seen, from what I've heard about Sacramento State, I don't think Sacramento State officials are doing anything out of the ordinary when it comes to filing their application to get access to become an FBS member school, and that's exactly what they did this past week. They have applied to become an FBS school. They're trying to get a waiver to make that move up from FCS to FBS. Right now, they're competing in the Big Sky Conference in the FCS, but they're looking to make that jump up to the FBS level. And they've been saying this for the longest time now that they want to compete at the highest level. They've not backed down from that. And I've heard like countless words from officials like the Wood brothers, Dr. Luke and Josh Wood, what they have to say about their university. They sound like guys who know what they're doing overall. Uh, Definitely ambitious and definitely aggressive in their attempts to get the word out about Sacramento State. And sometimes that rubs people the wrong way. I can understand why. But I don't think Sacramento State is doing anything out of the ordinary. I don't think they're doing anything wrong here. They want to move up. It's simple as that, and they're doing it the legal way. So there's nothing to really argue about concerning this. But yeah, I'll link this article down below in the description box for you guys to read. It's from Clutch Points, an article they wrote on April 2nd, covering Sacramento State intending to apply to become an FBS member. And just from on the surface about this, is that initially they've had this SAC 12 movement. It was titled SAC 12 movement, and they have a website dedicated to it where they're trying to build their blocks on top of each other so that they can get access to the Pac 12 conference. Now, obviously, in response to the Pac 12, at least right now, they have shown no interest at all in bringing Sacramento State in. And I totally understand why they're doing that. Sacramento State is an FCS school, and the Pac-12, as of right now at least, they don't want to deal with any FCS school whatsoever as far as expansion goes for their conference. And if you're in a position like Sacramento State's, you have to take what you can get. They're applying to become an independent on the FBS level. So that means if you're an independent school, you're not affiliated with any conference, that means basically you're a free agent. You're auditioning for any conference that might want to take a flyer on you, so to speak. And I'm pretty sure that's how Sacramento State is viewing it. Okay, so they're probably like the first 2 or 3 years of their existence on the FBS level, it's going to be a long, extended audition period of time for the Sacramento State Hornets to show conferences what they're about, what they bring to the table in value. And being positioned in a market like Sacramento, California, it's not a tiny market by any means. It's a pretty decent size, pretty good size market. Sacramento, California is the state capital. So you have something to work with in the Sacramento, California area. So it's not like they're in a bad spot, geographically speaking. But as far as tradition goes, as far as success on the field goes, that is something that the Sacramento State Hornets, they got to start working on. They got to start proving it on the field that they're worth that investment. As I've said so many times before with other programs like UConn, shout out to the UConn Huskies fans. But yeah, Sacramento State Hornets, they're going to be in that position now where they're going to be an independent, and they got to show it on the field, not just with talk, but they got to show it with action that they're worth that investment. Whether they're going to be going to a conference like the Pac-12 or the Mountain West Conference, because I've had this in the back of my mind too, where it's like, okay, if the Pac-12 keeps telling Sacramento State no repeatedly year after year, then you would have to think, in terms of common sense, you would have to think at some point the Mountain West Conference would probably turn around and say, especially Gloria Navarez and her people, they would say, you know what, maybe we should take a flyer on Sacramento State. Maybe we should at least talk to Sacramento State, the Wood brothers, and see what they're about. See if they're a good fit for our conference. Because what do you have to lose? If you're the Mountain West Conference, what do you have to lose? I don't see anything wrong with you guys reaching out to Sacramento State and at least getting together and talking. Because especially if the Pac 12 is going to be like, no, we don't want to talk to those guys. If you're the Mountain West Conference, you're like, okay, we can at least talk to Sacramento State. I mean, we just got UC Davis. We just brought in UC Davis for all other sports but football. But maybe we should talk to Sacramento State to see where they're at, especially their football program, and see if we can bring them into the fold as well down the road, like 2 or 3 years from now. And I won't be surprised if pretty soon here talks like that are going to start. It will not surprise me one bit. So there have been many questions surrounding this move that Sacramento State is making. It's like, oh, can they do this economically speaking? Should they do this? Is this a mistake they're making? And for the record, I'm just going to say it. I don't think Sacramento State is making a mistake by any means. They're doing what they have to do. They're doing what they think they have to do, and they see a small window of time for them to get this in. Because what's the alternative, guys? They wait 5 years, and then if that window happens to close permanently, by all intents and purposes, if it closes permanently on Sacramento State, where do they go? Do they stay in FCS? And they'll be like kicking themselves. And it was like, man, why didn't we go to FBS when we had the chance? I understand it. I totally understand why Sacramento State is thinking this right now. So honestly, as an outside observer, I'm like, okay, why not? Let's just see what Sacramento State can do. And honestly, even though I support a Mid-American Conference team, the Ohio Bobcats, as far as scheduling goes, just scheduling football games go, I would not mind it at all if the Ohio Bobcats scheduled the Sacramento State Hornets a few years from now. If the Hornets are still an independent, like 2 or 3 years from now. Like if we can get a game in there, if we have to travel all the way out to Sacramento to play them, or if we can convince the Hornets to travel out here to Athens, Ohio, and play us at our house, then yeah, that'd be great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you always got to find ways to schedule significant competition, and I do think the Hornets are going to try to build themselves up as a legitimate football team. Because otherwise, why are they doing this? Why are they going through all this just so they're not being serious? No, I think this is a serious effort. It's just a matter of are they going to be able to execute all their plans correctly? It's just a matter of execution. So yeah, I'm going to link that Clutch Points article about Sacramento State going to apply, which they have at this point, apply for status in the FBS. So you guys can read that as well. I find this interesting because in terms of conference realignment, you got to be mindful of who's coming in and who might be going out. Sacramento State definitely has signaled to everybody that they want in. They want to jump up to the highest level, and I don't see any problem with that. Now it's just a matter of which conference are they going to be with going forward long term in the future. Common sense would tell you that it would be either the Pac 12 or the Mountain West. Logically speaking, geographically speaking, that's where Sacramento State belongs, either with the Pac 12 or with the Mountain West Conference. And what's the only alternative is Conference USA. One more comment on that. Conference USA, just as one brief comment on them. For any Conference USA fans out there, Conference USA school fans out there, I'm not trying to be too harsh when I say this, but Conference USA, the administration of it, Conference USA has no clear vision about what they want to do. They just throw stuff. They just throw stuff out the wall and they hope it sticks when it comes to adding schools. I mean, yes, they have their grant of rights. Okay, that's good. They made a smart move there, but the process of choosing schools to add is just all over the place with Conference USA. There's no real vision there. It's like they're becoming a nationwide kind of conference. It's not smart. That part is not smart, if you ask me, because they still have New Mexico State way out west, and they have all these teams based in the southeast. It's all over the place. And then if you add Sacramento State, which is even more west, it's just a mess. I don't know what Conference USA is doing. So hopefully Sacramento State does not go that route and joins the Conference USA. That would just be a total disaster if that were to happen. So hopefully the Mountain West Conference or the Pac-12, they'll just pick up a flyer on Sacramento State and just get them in. Hopefully. But anyway, that's all from me. I wanted to do this Bobcat Corner for a while now. I've been keeping close tabs on the House settlement, what's going on there, and I've known about this hearing leading up to the other day, Monday. So I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts on that. Again, the House settlement, that is going to be a lot to unpack, and I'm already seeing holes in the argument here for why this should be approved. I really don't think this should be approved ultimately, but I do think it will. So that's just where I stand. And there's like a lot of money being thrown, $2.8 billion, a lot of issues going on there. And I think that it's going to get more muddy and dirty than it is going to be more clear for everybody involved once the settlement gets passed. But we're entering a new era in college football no matter what. So I'll keep you posted on these developments as we go along here. This will not be the only video, I promise you. This will not be the only video on the House settlement. We're just getting started on this, so stay tuned on that. But anyway, this is Bobcat Corner, episode number 45. Please share this with your friends. Please give this a like before you go. And if you like this content in general, please share this with your friends, like I said. Uh, Subscribe to the channel if you're new to STV Castle, and I'll be sure to provide you more content on college football. This is Bobcat Corner, and I'm Stephen Vitt reporting. Thank you so much. Bye.